Ladies and gentlemen, let me start by saying something you might not like to hear. Most women don't actually want an intelligent man. They think they do. They'll scream it on Instagram. They'll hashtag it into oblivion. But when intelligence walks into the room, wearing confidence, clarity, and a mind too sharp to manipulate, suddenly it's a problem. Suddenly, that man is too much. Now why is that? Because intelligence is intimidating. An intelligent man isn't swayed by fake tears, social games, or shallow conversations. He sees through pretense. He notices the inconsistencies. He asks questions that make you uncomfortable. And here's the real shocker: an intelligent man cannot be controlled. Let me tell you this: average men are easy. You can dangle validation, play emotional chess, and win. But an intelligent man, he demands depth. He challenges you. He will not let you hide behind excuses or mediocrity. And that terrifies most women, because deep down they fear being exposed. Here's the truth: many women mistake attention for love. But an intelligent man isn't interested in simply giving attention. He gives evaluation. He measures your character, your values, your mindset. And if you don't measure up, he walks away without hesitation. No begging, no drama, just silence. That silence, ladies and gentlemen, is what really scares women. Not the man himself, but the mirror his intelligence holds up to their lives. So the next time you hear a woman say, "I want a smart man," understand this: wanting intelligence and being able to handle intelligence are two different battles. One sounds cute on a vision board. The other requires growth, accountability, and strength. And that is why intelligent men scare most women. Intelligence is intimidating because it carries a weight that cannot be easily ignored. When a man is intelligent, he doesn't simply exist in the room, he shifts the atmosphere. His presence challenges people without him even trying. Most women say they desire a man who is smart, who can hold conversations, who knows how to solve problems, and who can offer perspective beyond the ordinary. But when they come face to face with a man who embodies real intelligence, the story changes. Intelligence is not about memorizing facts or flaunting degrees. True intelligence is a combination of awareness, critical thinking, emotional control, and the ability to cut through illusions. That is where the intimidation begins, because many people are not comfortable being around someone who cannot be deceived. When a man is intelligent, he listens in ways that expose what others try to hide. He notices contradictions in words and actions. He doesn't just take what is said at face value. He analyzes it, questions it, and evaluates it against logic. For someone who is not secure in themselves, that kind of mental sharpness feels threatening. They feel exposed, as though their flaws, games, or shallow tendencies are under a spotlight. This is why so many women who claim they want intelligence quickly retreat when they encounter it. It is one thing to enjoy witty banter, it is another to be seen through. Intelligence also carries authority. It radiates a form of dominance that does not rely on muscle or aggression but on presence and clarity. An intelligent man doesn't need to raise his voice or prove himself with theatrics. His confidence rests in his ability to think, to know, and to predict. That kind of authority is far more intimidating than physical strength because it disarms people mentally before any argument even begins. A woman who is used to controlling narratives or bending situations to her will may find herself powerless when she encounters a man who cannot be swayed by manipulation. This is frightening because it removes the safety net of control and forces her to deal with him at the level of truth. There is also the fact that intelligence demands accountability. An intelligent man will not allow mediocrity to stand unchallenged. He will question actions, decisions, and behaviors, not to criticize for the sake of ego, but because his mind is built to push for better. For someone who fears growth or is uncomfortable with self-reflection, this feels like pressure. Instead of viewing intelligence as a gift that sharpens and elevates, they see it as an enemy that makes them feel inadequate. The intimidation, therefore, is not just about the man's mind, but about what his mind forces others to confront within themselves. Ultimately, intelligence strips away illusions, and many people, especially in relationships, rely on illusions to maintain comfort. That is why an intelligent man can be admired from a distance yet feared up close. His intelligence doesn't just shine a light on the world, it shines a light on the person standing in front of him. And not everyone is ready to face that reflection. An intelligent man sees through games because his mind has been trained to look beyond the surface. Where others may be distracted by charm, appearance, or emotional displays, he pays attention to patterns, inconsistencies, and motives. When someone plays games, whether it's manipulation, dishonesty, or subtle control. An intelligent man notices the shifts in tone, the contradictions in words, and the gaps between promises and actions. He understands that human behavior often reveals more truth than spoken words, so he listens less to what is said and more to what is done. This ability alone makes playing games with him frustrating, because while an average person may fall for tactics of seduction or pity, he quickly identifies the strategy and disengages. For many women, games are not always malicious. Sometimes they are habits formed from insecurity or past experiences. They may test loyalty, exaggerate emotions, or withhold affection to see how a man responds. But an intelligent man does not take the bait. He recognizes the manipulation for what it is, and rather than being pulled into the cycle, he addresses it directly or withdraws entirely. This can be deeply unsettling because many are used to men who tolerate these behaviors or even encourage them by reacting predictably. His refusal to play along is not coldness but a declaration of self-respect. He will not lower himself into unnecessary drama because he values peace, clarity, and truth more than temporary thrills. What makes this ability even more intimidating is that it extends to deeper levels of human interaction. An intelligent man notices when affection is conditional, when interest is rooted in material gain, or when loyalty is only present during convenience. He sees through masks that others may successfully wear in front of people who are less discerning. This means that attempts to manipulate him with shallow tricks, like fake vulnerability, selective honesty, or emotional blackmail, fail almost immediately. Instead of being flattered, he grows distant because he has already detected the disingenuous nature of the interaction. This capacity to see through games often makes an intelligent man seem unapproachable. People sense that they cannot hide from him, and that creates discomfort. Some may admire this quality because it feels protective, as though he cannot be fooled or led astray. But for others, it feels like a threat to their sense of control. When the usual strategies fail, insecurity rises to the surface. That insecurity is often misdirected as anger, labeling the man as difficult or arrogant, when in reality, he is simply unwilling to be deceived. At the heart of this ability lies a commitment to authenticity. An intelligent man values honesty and substance, and games are the opposite of both. They waste time, drain energy, and erode trust. By refusing to participate, he separates himself from relationships built on performance rather than truth. This is why he is rare and, in many cases, misunderstood. He doesn't see through games to be harsh or superior. He sees through them because his mind is wired for clarity. And for those who genuinely desire connection, this is not something to fear but something to appreciate, because it guarantees that with him, there is no need for pretenses. He cannot be controlled because his sense of self is not rooted in external validation. An intelligent man has already established who he is, what he stands for, and where he is headed in life. That clarity makes him immune to many of the manipulative tactics that work on others. Attempts to guilt-trip him, pressure him with expectations, or use silence and drama to bend his will not succeed, because his identity does not hinge on pleasing others. He values truth and principle above temporary comfort, and this makes him a man who cannot be swayed by emotional games or social pressure. For many women, control is not always intentional. Sometimes it comes from a subconscious need for security. They might use affection, approval, or withdrawal as ways to guide a man's behavior. With average men, this often works because those men crave constant affirmation and fear rejection. But an intelligent man has built his life in such a way that he is not desperate for validation. He knows how to walk away if respect is missing, and that choice makes him powerful. The fear of losing him cannot be used as leverage, because he does not hold himself hostage to the fear of being alone. His independence is his shield, and that independence makes controlling him nearly impossible. Control also fails because he values logic more than impulse. When presented with emotional manipulation, he does not immediately react. He pauses, thinks, and evaluates. This pause breaks the cycle of control, because games thrive on emotional responses. If someone tries to provoke jealousy, test his loyalty with unnecessary drama, or pressure him with ultimatums, his calm reasoning strips the tactic of its power. Instead of being ensnared, he sees the situation for what it is and responds with clarity. Or sometimes, no response at all. That level of composure frustrates those who rely on control because it robs them of influence. The inability to control him also stems from his refusal to compromise his values. An intelligent man is not rigid, but he is principled. He has lines he will not cross, no matter how tempting the reward, or how severe the pressure. Whether it's compromising his integrity, sacrificing his ambitions, or surrendering his freedom for comfort, he resists because he knows the long-term cost of such decisions. This consistency makes him harder to manipulate, because one cannot control a man who does not fear the consequences of standing firm. He understands that losing a relationship or an opportunity is better than losing himself. This resistance to control is often misinterpreted as arrogance or stubbornness. In reality, it is strength. It is the mark of a man who has done the inner work to build resilience and independence. His refusal to be controlled is not an act of rebellion, but an act of self-preservation. He knows that allowing anyone to dictate his actions compromises his freedom and dilutes his authenticity. For those who truly value him, this is not a threat but a gift. It means that being with him is a choice, not a performance, and that his loyalty is rooted in genuine connection rather than obligation. Intelligence demands growth because it does not allow things to remain stagnant. When a man is intelligent, he naturally questions, analyzes, and seeks improvement. He is not content with repeating the same patterns or staying in the same place, whether in his personal life, his career, or his relationships. This constant search for progress means that anyone who chooses to be close to him must also be ready to evolve. He cannot thrive in an environment that resists change, because growth is tied to his very identity. To him, life without progress is life wasted, and this perspective can be both inspiring and intimidating. Being around an intelligent man is like standing next to a mirror that not only reflects who you are but also highlights who you could become. He notices potential and challenges people to reach for it. He is not satisfied with excuses because his mind immediately seeks solutions. If someone says, "This is too hard," he responds with a new perspective or strategy. If someone hides behind comfort, he gently, or sometimes directly, pushes them to step outside of it. For a woman in a relationship with such a man, this demand for growth can feel like a test. On one hand, it forces her to elevate, to confront her weaknesses, and to stretch her capacity. On the other, it can feel exhausting to always be challenged instead of simply being left as she is. This demand for growth extends beyond personal development into emotional maturity. An intelligent man will not tolerate cycles of petty arguments, unnecessary drama, or repeated mistakes without effort toward improvement. He expects communication to get better, understanding to deepen, and conflicts to teach lessons rather than repeat themselves endlessly. This is not because he is impatient, but because his intelligence refuses to normalize dysfunction. He believes that growth is proof of love and commitment, and without it, relationships become stagnant. The intimidating part of this expectation is that it removes the option of complacency. For many people, comfort feels safer than growth, even if it means settling for less. But an intelligent man cannot remain comfortable in mediocrity. His vision pulls him forward, and he expects those around him to move with him. This is why some women feel threatened by his intelligence. Being with him is not a passive experience. It is an active journey of self-discovery, learning, and adaptation. While this can be overwhelming for someone who wants stability without change, it can be a gift for someone who desires to be stretched and elevated. Ultimately, intelligence demands growth because it thrives on truth and improvement. It is not about perfection, but about refusing to remain the same when better is possible. An intelligent man challenges his partner, his peers, and even himself to keep evolving, because he understands that life is not static. This demand is not always easy, but it is what makes him valuable. Those who can rise with him find themselves becoming stronger, wiser, and more fulfilled. Those who resist often feel left behind, not because he abandoned them, but because they chose comfort over growth.